right, thank you for joining us at this time. You're watching News Analysis live on Politics and Business TV. The top stories: Nigerian army says that soldiers killed while on peacekeeping mission in Okwama community of Delta State would be buried today. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo links activities of bandits and kidnappers to unemployment in the country. House of Representatives begins investigation into alleged certificate racketeering. Details coming up shortly. Right, I am Omoy, a piece of summary. The Nigerian army says that soldiers killed while on peacekeeping mission in the Okwama community of Delta State are to be buried today. This was disclosed in a statement posted on the Nigerian Army's X handle. According to media reports, President Bola Tinubu is scheduled to be the special guest of honor at the burial ceremony, which is built to take place at the National Cemetery, Abuja, by 3 p.m. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo has linked the growing activities of bandits and kidnappers to the unemployment situation in the country. Obasanjo stated this during his address at the 9th International Trade Exhibition and Conference on Agro-Food, Plastics, Printing and Packaging, which was held in Lagos yesterday. At the trade fair, which was jointly organized by Fair Trade Mess and the Organization for Technology Advancement of Cold Chain in West Africa, the former president described himself as a madman for agriculture, further stressing the need to promote agribusiness for food security, nutrition security, employment, wealth creation, poverty elimination, and income generation, particularly foreign exchange. According to him, the drive towards food security in the country must encapsulate food availability, affordability, and accessibility. Obasanjo, while calling on policymakers at all levels to ensure policy consistency that would allow farmers set short and long-term targets without worrying about possible policy somersaults which may topple their plans, noted that one of the most potent means of curbing youth emigration, unemployment and insecurity is to get more young people to embrace agriculture. Now, the Minister of State for Environment, Dr. Isiaq Salako, has said the ministry, through the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency, will be commencing periodic review of the plans of international and indigenous oil companies to ensure they stay on course to end routine gas flaring by 2030. Salako disclosed this yesterday at the National Stakeholders Engagement Meeting on methane mitigation and reduction in Nigeria's oil and gas sector. Salako said practical steps have been taken to address methane emissions, which is set to pose a major threat to the health and well-being of current and future generations and climate protection goals in the country. The minister noted that collaborative effort of government institutions led to the development of methane gas guidelines. Now, in view of his invitation by the federal government over comments on the activities of bandits, Islamic cleric Sheikh Gumi has said he had a productive interaction, with the agencies on how to curb banditry across the country. Sheikh Gumi had offered to negotiate with bandits who abducted school children from Kuriga Government Secondary and Early Primary Schools in the Chukun local government area of Kaduna State. It was against this backdrop that the Minister of Information, Muhammad Idris, on Monday disclosed the resolve of government to invite the cleric for questioning, stressing that Gumi was not above the law. But in a post on his X handle yesterday, Gumi assured his followers that there was no cause for alarm, adding that there was no animosity in the course of the meeting. He therefore called for unity and synergy to achieve long-lasting peace. You're watching News Analysis live on Politics and Business TV. Still to come, The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria yesterday raised the monetary policy ratio by 200 basis points to 24.75 from 22.75%, a development some Nigerians say cast doubt on the effort to address inflation. Now, with an inflation at 31.70%, do you think the Apex Bank, under the leadership of Yemi Cardoso, is on the right path in terms of policies and decision making? I will be having a candid conversation on this with an economist, Yusha'u Aliyu. All of this and more after the break. Do join us again. Welcome back from that break. Thank you for staying tuned. This is News Analysis live on Politics and Business TV. The House of Representatives has begun investigation into alleged certificate racketeering by some officials of federal government ministries, departments and agencies involved in alleged certificate racketeering with Nigerian students. Chairman, Joint Committee on Certificate Racketeering, Abubakar Fulata, who vowed to confront the menace in tertiary institutions during its sitting in Abuja, said certificate racketeering could cripple healthcare system and various sectors of the economy if not checked. Fulata said the House mandated its committees on university education, interior, foreign affairs and youth development to investigate the matter and report back. The investigation into alleged certificate racketeering is in view of an investigative journalist, Umar Audu, who had exposed how he bagged a degree from a university in Cotonou, Benin Republic in 6 weeks and subsequently participated in the mandatory National Youth Service Corps scheme. The journalist had subsequently accused unnamed officials of the Ministry of Education as members of the racketeering syndicate, a development that sparked criticisms by Nigerians. Now, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria yesterday concluded its two-day meeting for March 2024. The meeting, which marks the second MPC meeting for the year 2024 and also the 294th meeting of the CBN, raised the monetary policy ratio by 200 basis points to 24.75 from 22.75%. The CBN Governor, Yemi Cardoso, who announced this after the MPC meeting in Abuja, said the new rate was focused on reducing current inflationary pressures and ensuring sustained exchange rate stability. Cardoso stressed that the new MPR was part of moves to tackle the country's inflation, which currently stands at 31.70%. However, private sector operators have said that the hike in the monetary policy rate, also known as interest rate, will further accelerate the country's inflation and lead to massive job cuts across the country. Also, the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture and the Nigerian Association of Small-Scale Industrialists explained that the increase in MPR would worsen the private sector's ability to access affordable credit. As a that with unintended number of the price that businesses would have to pay given the current state of the economy. Well, Nigeria has issued a circular to Bureau de Change operators informing them of the sale of $10,000 each BDC at a rate of 1,251 naira per dollar. This was contained in a circular signed by the bank's director, Trade and Exchange Department, Dr. Hassan Mahmoud, on Monday. The Apex Bank directed each BDC to sell the dollars to eligible customers at a rate not exceeding 1.5% above the purchase price, implying that each BDC is not expected to sell above 1,269 naira per dollar. That being said, we'll link up now with my guest, who is an economist, Yusha'u Aliyu, to discuss the interest rate, and the sale of dollars to the Bureau de Change operators. Well, Yusha'u Aliyu will be joining us via telephone, so we'll take this quick break to link up with him, and we'll be back with the conversation. To join us again. on business. This is news analysis live on Politics and Business TV. Pardon me. I would like you to know that we're streaming live on YouTube and Facebook, so you can join the conversation by sharing your thoughts on the comment section. Yeah, I have my guest who just joined us live via telephone, Yusha'u Aliyu. He is an economist. Good afternoon to you, Yusha'u Aliyu. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
It's afternoon, Yusha'u Aliyu, not morning.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right. Of course, the CBN is at it again, raising the interest rate. I mean, this is the second time the CBN is raising the interest rate, and you know it calls for concern. I mean, a number of people have come out to express, some of these concerns. The organized private sector already is saying that this is going to, incur more job losses, and it's going to trigger the inflation rate in the country. But let's get your thoughts. Is the Apex Bank under Yemi Cardoso on the right path, in terms of policies and decision making? Are you there, Yusha'u Aliyu?
The line is breaking. I'm here.
Okay, yes, I'm asking, with all that has been going on, will it be right to say that, the CBN is on the right path in terms of policies and decision making?
It depends on what the CBN intends to achieve. But obviously, if it is controlling inflation, the CBN is not getting it correctly, because if you cannot raise the monetary policy rate by 200 basis in just 30 days and expect the cost of borrowing to be low, but whenever NPR is increased, interest rate is cost of existing borrowing is also increased. So when you use multiplier concept to multiply the changes via changes in prices, definitely prices will have to go high. And at the same time also, if prices continue to go high, you will a lot of people to do away with other things. And when people decide to do away with money things, that will now relate to low turnover to most of the manufacturing, and that will cause these manufacturing industries to begin to reduce costs in order to maximize their profit or to maximize their cost of being in the business.
Well, Malam Yusha'u Aliyu, let me ask you this. Has there been any significant change or changes, if you like, since the last MPC meeting? I mean, before the one that was concluded yesterday?
There is no significant change, because the essence of increasing NPR is just a monetary tool to reduce money in circulation so that inflation can be controlled. If there exists any development or any achievement reached, we have to wait very patiently in the next 7 days so that we see the outcome of what Nigerian Bureau of Statistics will bring as to regard the statistics of prices in Nigeria. But obviously all of us are part of this. We are part of the market, and we are witnessing increases in different forms, especially food inflation, which is obvious. It is as a result of supply bottlenecks. We continue to say that. But whatever the NPC is trying to achieve by raising the NPR, definitely is not controlling inflation. It may be other measures. And also, whatever the changes that we witness so far in the economy is as a result of direct intervention by the central bank by controlling or by fixing dollar-naira exchange rate. And these are the things that we have been saying for a long time. If the central bank wants to stabilize prices, definitely central bank has to come in different form. They are professionals and they have many tools to use in trying to stabilize prices in the economy and also make production works.
Madam Yusha'u Aliyu, the last MPC meeting, I mean, before the one that was concluded yesterday, the CBN governor came out to say that what actually triggered the inflation, I mean, to 31.70% is not necessarily, connected to the exchange rate, but according to him in his words, let me quote him verbatim, it is not, monetary issues that actually trigger the inflation rate, but non-monetary factors. It talked about insecurity, it talked about infrastructural deficit as well. So will it be right to say that increasing the MPR this time around might not really, have any direct impact on inflation rate, but perhaps we should look at other factors that have over time triggered inflation in the country?
Exactly. The central bank has stated exactly how the economy is, because it is unconventional decision of many Nigerians that we find our situation, especially in terms of supply bottlenecks. That one is clear. But what we are emphasizing here, myself and you, and all experts, including the central bank, is that what is the motive of increasing MPR if not to check excess money in the economy? And once you are checking excess money in the economy, you are simply or directly telling Nigerians that you are bringing a tool to bring down or to stop skyrocketing of prices, so that the prices can be stable, so that other factors of development can fix in and then assist the economy. As we are today, raising NPR in less than 30 days with 200 basis, and you remember that even in February, it was raised by 400 basis points. And taking on to, I was not expecting the bank to be changing this rate to this gravity. This gravity is too much, because in less than 60 days you have made a shift of MPR by about 600 basis points, which is very, very significant as far as increasing cost of borrowing in an economy that is facing so much of monetary challenges as well as fiscal challenges.
Malam Yusha'u Aliyu, indeed, an aggressive hike, one would say there. But fill us in on, those that are mostly, that are likely going to, be affected mostly by this hike in interest rate in terms of borrowing cost.
That means that many investors cannot borrow, or will decide not to borrow. But the most painful aspect of raising this MPR is that even cost of borrowing, if today assume that company A has borrowed 20 million naira and is paying 26% interest rate and is to pay that amount within 2 years period, definitely the amount that is going to be charged on that loan will change by this decision, meaning that it is no longer going to be 26%, it's going to be 28%, because the 200 basis point will increase the motives of the bank to restrict movement of cash outside financial institutions for any use. And if that happens, many investors will not go to borrow, and many businesses will also collapse, and many businesses will face insolvency, because it depends on the profit margin the companies are making. And this is the scenario that has been devastating the economy for about a year ago, which the central bank is behind the NPR increase, and this increase in NPR is now translating to many people they cannot afford what is basic for them. Let me give you a realistic example. If you take the cost of borrowing for a baker to borrow and fund his own business, the price of bread, for instance, 2 kilogram bread is costing 350. Today, that same 2 kilogram of bread is costing 1,500, 1,000. If you don't have a better income, it means that you have to do away with that product, because you cannot purchase it because of the changing prices.
Right.
And even today, what we are going to say is that there is going to be additional to whatever we buy in Nigeria, because manufacturers have additional interest rate to pay for the existing loans.
Okay, Malam Yusha'u Aliyu, I mean, it's okay for you to be, up to speed, I mean, or better abreast with this particular question. When you talk about, discouraging, investors, are we looking at foreign investors or investments locally, I mean, within the country?
That's why I told you initially that it depends on the motive for the central bank to encourage investors to invest, or other to encourage many sources exchange rate to be into our financial system. Okay. But what is desirable at this point in time is, if you don't have a secured environment, what type of investment are you attracting? Because the CBN has queried the situation of insecurity. If you are to invest in agriculture, for instance, in a special economic zone where agriculture is given priority, then you are to invest, and it is an FDI, foreign direct investment. Where are you going to invest that money? And even if you are to invest in textile industries, which textile industry that investor is trying to come and invest, and in what location? So therefore, it must be a joint effort by fiscal authorities and monetary authorities to regulate once the consumption of people within that economy. If you are not regulating consumption to the level at which the income grouping will be able to afford for manufacturing to be able to keep their own manpower and keep production going on, then it is going to be devastating for the economy, because at any value that is added into the economy is added to the gross domestic product of that economy. And any value that is subtracted from an economy, it is a negative to the gross of the domestic product of that same economy.
All right.
Yeah,
Malam Yusha'u Aliyu, I'm sorry to bother you, but before we tilt towards the currency market, when you talk about consumption, do we even have enough consumption locally?
Pardon?
Do we have enough for consumption?
We don't have enough. All the incomes are eroded. Remember the value of the value of the value of 30,000 minimum wage study is no longer attractive in Nigeria, because that same value of 30,000 naira in March 2023 is not the same value in 2024. Right. Therefore, incomes have been eroded, and if they are eroded, it is the price that is eroding them, and that is why there is multiplicity of different economic problems to differently.
All right. Well, now, the Central Bank of Nigeria on Monday issued a circular to British-owned operators informing them of the sale of $10,000 to each BDC at a rate of 1,251 naira per dollar. Now, there seems to have been a little bit of improvement or stability in the currency market in terms of the naira breathing, some sort of fresh air. Can this be sustained with, this development?
Of course, and we have to also salute the central bank. The central bank has taken the professionally to guide the naira to get the rate. If it can sustain this one over a period, definitely prices that are associated with dollar exchange rate will be stabilizing, and also with the effort of the central bank in clearing the backlog of a lot of commitment is also very interesting. And however, the central bank with the bureau de change is not going to solve the entire problem. The central bank must also put the monitoring aspect of the other commercial windows, especially at the commercial banking system, to make sure that the bank are observing all the rules and regulation guiding forex in the economy.
Well, the bank has also told, the BDC operators that they must not sell above 1,269 naira per dollar. But the question now would be, the BDC space, activities within the bureau de change operations in the country, has it been well sanitized to even give this directive? And how are we sure that this directive will be carried out, to the letter?
The stability that we begin to see is what portrays that the CBN can control whatever network the BDCs have in our economy. And it is encouraging. I always say that if a good decision is taken, you have to applaud it and then give credit to whoever is behind it. I am happy that the central bank has introduced a concept which has never existed in similar form, and it is yielding results. And we encourage the central bank to increase, to sustain the tempo in trying to stabilize the exchange rate, which is very necessary for our local consumption.
Well, now that the interest rate has been, hiked again by the CBN, there are fears, obviously, that this is going to trigger inflation. Just like you said, we're waiting on the National Bureau of Statistics to, publish the latest report in terms of inflation rate. However, of course, the CBN has, maintained that inflation is not necessarily triggered by, the monetary policies, but security and, infrastructural deficit issues. But now, as it is, do you not think that, the stability, the perceived stability of the Naira in the currency market at this point in time is under some sort of threat?
There is no different name to inflation, and there is no different name to Central Bank of Nigeria. The essence of central bank monetary policy is to stabilize the economy. The essence of stabilizing economy is to control inflation. So there is no reason whatsoever that you dissociate the monetary policy rate with the control of inflation. And if you cannot do that, there is no way you now dissociate an increment in the rate to the increment in general price level. That is my submission.
Well, a great submission there, Malam Yusha'u Aliyu. I'm just going to hold you by your words and, monitor the progression of events. Hopefully we get an update on this and come back here to discuss more. But thank you so much for talking to us on News Analysis today.
Thank you, Amo. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. An economist, Yusha'u Aliyu, has been my guest, and together we'll be discussing the hike in interest rate by the CBN and also the decision, to sell, FX to BDC in the country. But of course, this is obviously a developing story as we are waiting for our trends that are definitely going to emanate from all of this development. So we're keeping our fingers crossed and also monitoring or keeping tabs on all of this so we can bring you up to speed with the latest update. But that's it for News Analysis today. Thank you so much for watching. I am Omo Ife. Peace or Semere. Good afternoon.